Can you truly understand this scene from Goodfellas? Not just the words, but the cultural subtext.
I can't believe this prejudice against a Jew broad, prejudice against Italians.
If you can, then you'll probably understand English like a native speaker.
Welcome to English Trip Bear.
With B. Barrington, do you want to understand English like a native English speaker and enjoy American movies more?
Not just having a strong language ability, but also knowing a few things about history can be really helpful to understand American movies like Goodfellas or The Godfather on a deeper level.
That's right! To get the most out of these movies and pop culture, you need to understand some basic American history.
Totally.
Let's look at more of that scene from Goodfellas.
I'm trying to bang this broad for a fucking month now. The only thing is she won't go out with me alone, you know? She don't want to go out with Italians alone. She's prejudiced against Italians. You fucking believe that? In this day and age, what the fuck is this world coming to? I can't believe this prejudice against a Jew broad, prejudice against Italians.
Let's talk about what's being said. Naomi?
彼女とやろうと1ヶ月も頑張っているんだ。ただ彼女は僕と2人きりでデートに出かけないんだ。イタリア人と2人きりでデートに行きたくないんだ。イタリア人に対して偏見を持っているんだよ。信じられるかい？このご時世にさ。こんなことがあり得るなんて信じられないよ。ユダヤ人の女がイタリア人に偏見を持っているっていう意味ですね。I can understand what he's saying, but I don't fully get what kind of discrimination Italian Americans had to face.
Well, that's a big issue to talk about. Tommy specifically mentions that the woman he's dating is Jewish.
A Jew broad, prejudice against Italians.
Why do you think that is?
I didn't think it was very important.
It's a significant piece of information for two reasons.
Really?
Yes, he didn't have to mention that he was dating a Jewish person, but he did. Tommy's tone suggests that the Jewish woman he's dating is hypocritical. Historically, Jewish people have been discriminated against, going all the way back to the ancient Egyptians, right up to modern times. So her discrimination against him for being Italian seems absurd to him.
Interesting.
Secondly, Tommy's attitude implies that he thinks Italians have a higher social status than Jewish people. There was and is a racial hierarchy in America.
Wow, that's a lot of insight from just one line.
It is, and it highlights something critical. It's not just Italians that were discriminated against. Most every group of immigrants that came to America faced racism. So it's important to point out that when there were, for example, large groups of Jewish people or Irish people coming over to the US, they were treated poorly and faced a lot of discrimination.
That's the building of our country right there, Mr. Cutting. Americans are borning.
I don't see no Americans. I see trespassers. Irish hops who do a job for a nickel what a nigger does for a dime and a white man used to get a quarter for.
There was a large wave of Italian immigration from the late 1800s to the early 1900s. More than 4 million came during that time period.
すごいわね。日本に現在住んでる外国籍の方の人数を超えてるじゃない。
As you might imagine, they weren't exactly welcomed with open arms. Most didn't speak English or have any money. Some didn't even have any skills. There was no social system in place to deal with all these immigrants as well. On top of that, it was a 3-month journey across the Atlantic Ocean. People arrived hungry and in poor health. When they got here, they must have been desperate and scared.
That sounds rough.
Most ended up living in Italian sections of New York City, which were run down and full of crime.
I'm sure that added to the negative stereotypes.
Undoubtedly.
Where are you from?
What is your name? What is your name? Come on, son. What is your name?
Tuo nome? Vito Andolini from Corleone.
Corleone. Vito Corleone. Okay. Over there. Next.
Even today, most of these negative stereotypes have stuck to Italian Americans.
How about other ethnic groups?
Every ethnic group has to deal with their own unique set of stereotypes, good and bad.
なるほどね。イタリア系アメリカ人に対する一般的なステレオタイプって何なの？
There are quite a few common stereotypes. For example, dark hair and brown eyes.
I've seen lots of Italians with blonde hair and blue eyes.
Certainly. Stereotypes are often very narrow and inaccurate, just like how the stereotypical Italian food is pizza and spaghetti.
Huh. There's so much more to Italian food.
If you want to see many of the common Italian stereotypes, you don't need to look any further than Mario.
Really?
Hey, paisanos, it's the Super Mario Brothers Super Show! Starman, star bright, give me Starman pasta power, give me pasta might!
Let's take a look at some of the most common Italian stereotypes. Dark hair? Check. Being chubby or heavyset? Check. He's a plumber, which is some kind of laborer, so check. He's always eating pizza or pasta? Check.
Well, that doesn't sound too bad.
You also have his evil counterpart, Wario. You could argue that he fits the negative stereotype of Italians being linked to crime.
Oh, poop.
It always comes back to the mafia with Italians.
Jesus Christ, you think there never was a Michelangelo, the way they treat people.
Did you know that an Italian invented the telephone?
Alexander Graham Bell was Italian?
You see? You see what I'm talking? Antonio Meucci invented the telephone and he got robbed. Everybody knows that.
Is it true that the Chinese invented spaghetti?
Now think about it. Why would people who eat with sticks invent something that you need a fork to eat?
Who invented the mafia?
What?
イタリアの南部に住んでるイタリア人がたくさんアメリカへ移住したって聞いたことがあるよ。
Yeah, do you know why?
I have no idea.
Because people from the south were much poorer. Actually, Italians from the north discriminated against the people south of Rome.
Really?
That's still true even today. The further south you go in the country, the poorer it becomes. In the past, this meant less education and less opportunity. The mafia was born out of this poverty.
That's interesting.
So a lot of southern Italians from places like Sicily moved to the US in pursuit of a better life.
I see.
Unfortunately, they had to face similar racism in the US as well.
I don't get it. イタリア人と他のヨーロッパの人と私区別すらできないんだけどね。
Nah, then you'll be surprised to know that Italians who immigrated to the US in the late 1800s and early 1900s were not considered white.
What? That's crazy.
Yeah, right? They had to deal with a lot of discrimination. Not only name calling, but they were also shut out of schools, jobs, and labor unions. The racial slurs against Italians were terms like wop, guinea, dago, and sometimes even white nigger. These are all really racist terms, and no one should use any of them.
You're Sicilian, huh? Sicilian. Here's a fact. I don't know whether you know or not. Sicilians were spawned by niggers.
I know this guy. No.
Your ancestors are niggers. Hey. Yeah. And your great-great-great-great-grandmother fucked a nigger. Oh, yeah. And she had a half-nigger kid. 'Cause you're part eggplant. No! Hey.
You're a cantaloupe.
Beautiful.
Wow! It sounds like Italians have to go through a lot.
Yeah, it's kind of a rags to riches story for Italian Americans. I'll tell you how they changed their status in American society, but before we get to that, you can help us go from rags to riches by pawing that like button if you've enjoyed the video so far.
Liking really helps us know if we are making content that is useful for you.
Also, check out our website, English Strip Bear, to get a more detailed explanation of what we've covered in this video.
We have detailed notes, vocabulary, and extra information.
Plus, we have a free monthly newsletter with practice exercises, additional vocabulary, and lots more.
We release new material on our website for free every Friday.
Check it out. Link in the description.
Okay, back to Italians.
Have you ever heard of the American holiday, Columbus Day?
知ってるよ。パレードがあってその日は休日なんでしょ？
Yes. The holiday is not really about celebrating Christopher Columbus. It was pushed by Italian Americans so they could get a foothold into American society. The idea was to reshape history a little. Columbus was Italian, he discovered America, so America owes its foundation to Italians.
I didn't know anything about that.
None of it's really true, but the rationale was that it would help Italian Americans get accepted into American society. The holiday has a complicated history, having a one-time national celebration in 1892 in the wake of a bloody New Orleans lynching that took the lives of 11 Italian immigrants. It later became a full national holiday in 1937.
Wow, that's interesting.
The plan worked. Italians eventually were accepted into American society. They became celebrated for their high fashion, like Gucci, and their foods, like pizza. It was, however, impossible to shed all the negative associations. A big part of Italian-American cultural identity is still linked to the mafia and crime.
President of the Union, I'm so proud of you, homie.
This is your chance to get a fair shake for the working man.
And make lifelong connections to the world of organized crime. Organized crime.
Don Homer, I have baked a special donut just for you.
Grazie.
Don Homer, my son, he has a trouble with the...
Molto bene. That's a nice donut.
イタリア系アメリカ人がアメリカの文化社会にどのように溶け込もうとしてきたのかよく理解できたわ。映画やドラマを見るときに背景知識があると深みが出るわよね。
I'm glad you could gain a little more understanding of history, language, and American life.
It's fun to learn about culture, movies, and English together.
It sure is. If you enjoy all that stuff, then check out this episode on the pop culture of Halloween. You'll find out about the most common cliches of the holiday and how to survive a horror movie. Plus, you'll learn to talk like a native speaker.
Thank you for watching today. Bye bye.
See ya!